Residential Sales Comparison and Income Approaches, page 148. The income approach. When and why? In reality, the income approach will not be developed as often for residential appraisal assignments as the sales comparison approach. In fact, depending on the particular market and neighborhood, the income approach may be thought of as somewhat of a special valuation tool for some appraisers. But being prepared and equipped with knowledge of the income approach and how to use it when needed is essential to every appraiser. Problem identification and the income approach. In many, if not most cases, the appraiser will recognize when the income approach is needed for credible assignment results during problem identification. As we discussed in an earlier chapter, common elements of problem identification that could cause this recognition might include intended use, relevant property characteristics, assignment conditions specified by the client or intended user. Obviously, if the intended use of the appraiser's conclusions is to determine what a property could rent for or what the value of that property is based on its income producing potential, the income approach may be the appraiser's primary method for solving the problem. Or possibly the intended use of the appraisal is to assist in the facilitation of mortgage financing with the investor/borrower. Extra note, debt service has nothing to do with potential gross. Contract rent. When tenants are actually paying in rent as stated in the terms of the lease. Debt service. The amount of funds required to make periodic payments of principal and interest to the lender. Deficient rent. The resulting difference when the market rent exceeds the contract rent. Effective gross income, EGI. Potential gross income less vacancy and collection losses. Excess rent. The resulting difference when the contract rent exceeds the market rent. Fee simple. The greatest estate of ownership one can have in real property is it is freely transferable and inheritable and of indefinite duration with no conditions on the title, often called fee simple absolute or fee title. Fixed expenses. Ongoing operating expenses that do not vary based on occupancy levels of the property. For instance, taxes and insurance, compared to variable expenses. Gross income multiplier, GIM, a factor that takes into account income derived from all sources of property, such as vending, storage units. Gross lease, a property lease for which the landlord pays all expenses related to the operation of the property. Gross rent multiplier, a factor derived from comparable rental data, which is then used to develop an opinion of value of the subject property. Lease, conveyance of a leasehold estate from the fee owner to a tenant, a contract for which one party pays the other rent in exchange for possession of real estate. Leased fee estate, the landlord's ownership interest in property. Leasehold estate, an estate that gives the holder, the tenant, a temporary right of possession without title, also called less than freehold estate.